We're going to the moon today, and we're looking at some players that should go nuclear this week. We're looking at the game script, their advanced analytics, and looking at how they should be performing and their good matchups here in week 6. Before we dig in, though, you need to drop your sit questions in the comment section below. I'm answering all of them tonight while I'm watching Pac-12 After Dark. I'm a college football fan, so I'm watching the games. So I will get back at you later tonight while I'm watching the late night games. And while you're asking, try to help somebody else out. It's going to give you good luck. That's probably going to help you out the most. Helping somebody else out. That is how life works. Always try to help others. On top of that, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're going deeper on the waiver wire than anybody else. We're helping you set your lineups with multiple videos, from rankings, from looking at all the starts for the week. And then on top of that, we're doing deep dives on all the trending players, as many as possible. Just digging deep all year long. Click that button. Stop missing out. First player we're talking about today, Jonathan Taylor. Yes, it's chalk. Yes, it's chalk. Some of these will be chalk. We do this every weekend. We talk about the nuclear players, and we're looking at the matchups here. So on top of that, when we talk about the player, think about the proxy players, the potential backups, the wide receivers, the wide receiver threes, the tight ends, for when you have to go deeper when we're talking about these matchups. 47.5 over under. If you're paying attention to the Cardinals, this is a team that might be rolling over soon. The coach with the Amari Democado situation, how the other players responded, that was kind of weird. Kyler Murray's been weird. We got a spread of 7. The Colts have been on fire. They're allowing fantasy points to running backs. They have bent or broken every single week. Every single week, they're getting running backs to the fairway at least, or they're busting it loose down the green. Every single week. We're seeing that. McCaffrey went off. Charbonnet got 12. Pollard got 16. Chuba got 18. Kamara got 13. Now we're looking at Jonathan Taylor. We got some upside here, like we always do. Chalky. But when you think about this matchup, you think about the Cardinals and the Colts here, and a 47.5 over-under. Fantasy points are going to be scored in this matchup like it always is with the Colts. Marvin Harrison Jr. should be getting some good pushback in this matchup. The Colts are in game scripts where it flows good for wide receivers. They're allowing fantasy points to wide receivers, but they're also in game scripts and matchups where the other team's got to fight back. They got to fight back through the air. They got to push it downfield. And a matchup like that is great for Marvin Harrison Jr. Unless for some reason, like the Cardinals get up or the Colts whiff the first and second quarter and it gets slower. That's how it could run bad. You always got to look at how things can run bad. How can the game script break? Because there'll be 2 or 3 games every week that breaks. And there'll be one that flips totally opposite. Kind of like on Thursday. Like you look at the spread, 5.5. You look at the total. The Giants about got that on their own. You have to look at that. Vegas is an indicator. It's going to be right when you're looking at just fantasy football movement. Not straight up point totals or straight up the spread. But straight up movement. It's going to be right. But it'll have 3-ish games wrong. 1 game where it's just flipped on its head. And you got to try and identify those. Or at least look at every matchup like I'm doing. And try to predict what could flip it. What could flip it is the Colts coming in cold. Coming in really cold. Coming in soft. Having a rough first 2 quarters. Maybe a couple interceptions. A fumble. Just normal football stuff. That just happens. That's just life. That's just football. But odds are saying that we're going to get good pushback in this game. They're going to have to throw it. They're not going to be able to pound out the rock. If you look at Michael Carter's numbers last week, under 2 yards after contact per attempt. We did not hit 4 yards per carry. You're looking at that. Amari Democado is in the doghouse. They may have to use him in the passing game if they get behind here. You got a 7 spread, 47.5 over under. I look for Marvin Harrison Jr. to get good volume here. Easy 5+ targets. He's getting 5 targets more every single game. This is a game script that's going to push for more than that. This is definitely a game script that's going to push the pace for him. He's going to get the volume and opportunity here. We only got 2 touchdowns on the season. We're due for another one considering how much volume he's getting. He's the second pass catcher in line when it comes to the targets. That's just something you got to deal with there. That's part of the offense. That's why he's so volatile. but he's actually a little bit more consistent compared to last year. Last year he was more volatile. This is a matchup where you got some good run back action for Marvin Harrison Jr. T-Mac against the Cowboys. This is a game you spam. You spam this game. Lineups, betting, DFS. This is a game you spam. This is a game that's probably going to be very similar to the Dolphins-Panthers game last week. Both sides have weapons. Both sides has holes where the offenses can exploit. This is going to be a fun one. You got a Rico Dowdle revenge game, so you got a storyline here. Javonte Williams looking at him, kind of looking like Jerry Prohaska versus Alex Pereira as they were staring at each other in the cage, and it was back and forth, dead silence, eyes not moving. That's how I imagine this game right here. I'm excited for this game when it comes to fantasy football action. You got a spread at 49.5. Now I got to talk about T-Mac here. Cowboys are just giving fantasy points away to wide receivers. Week 1, as it seemed like an anomaly, the Eagles are starting to show themselves, but you look at the last 4 games, 37.7 to Malik Neighbors, 19.8 to Burden. That was a weird game. Bears were up. Dubs, 29.8. Garrett Wilson, 19.1. On the season, they're allowing 44.9 PPR fantasy points per game to wide receivers. Last 3, 45.1. 40.4% more than league average. So if you think about it this way, when it comes to allowing fantasy points to wide receivers, you're getting the league average, then you're almost getting it halfway more. You're almost getting the halfway more. That is crazy. That is crazy. T-Mac should hit. He's due for a touchdown. When he starts reeling off touchdowns, he's going to splash hard. And you remember what I've been saying about rookies during the start of the season. They need a ramp-up time. And I said T-Mac's probably going to need a ramp-up time. And when he starts hitting that threshold of 20 to 25% target share, that's where it's going to start ramping up. We start off with that, but kind of by proxy, too. We traded away Adam Thielen. Then Jalen Coker went to IR. And he's good. He's solid. So we're going to get to our moment here. We're going to start cashing big. We're going to start cashing big. This is a good matchup for that. Rico Dowdle revenge game. Who doesn't want to start him? A lot of people are starting him over Derrick Henry. And you're just looking at what the Cowboys are allowing here. Last 3 weeks, 30.2 PPR fantasy points per game to running backs. Looking at the running backs that are hitting, every single one got you to the fairway or bombed it to the green. Like Josh Jacobs there with the Packers. Breece Hall went off against them, and he's had some up and down moments. Scatterboo came out against them. Now you're looking at Rico Dowdle. He's pissed. He's ready to rock and roll. He's ready to smash. I would start him for fun. I would just start him because it's fun, because you know that's some fun action. Sometimes it's not whether or not the player's good or bad, but whether or not you get the fun action. Now, if you're thinking about this player versus this player, they're this close, maybe you hedge it like, man, this guy's got funner action. I'd rather watch that game. Now you got a little something on that game. Think about it that way, in those terms. Like, they're right here. They're right here. We narrowed down the odds so they're here. And now you're trying to figure it out. And now you could ask me what I think. Still doesn't matter. Why not take the action? There's some good action here. Revenge game. You got a matchup here where he could be firing out. They're going to use him. He's hot right now. Scored well against Miami. Another great matchup. Storybook game. Why not? Javonte Williams. Like I said, Alex Pereira, Jared Prohaska, them two staring at each other. Carolina, if you go back to last year, just giving away fantasy points to running backs. This year, not so much. A little bit better. I say around league average, even though it's 2.6% less than league average and 8% less than league average on the last 3 weeks. Because, like, football's going to football, so I do not want to be finite to the numbers. But they're getting you to the fairway every week, and this is a running back that's doing more than that every week. He should at least get you to the fairway. This is a good matchup for that. I look for this game script to get pushed. How could it go wrong? Bryce Young coming out throwing picks. Just throwing picks. Like week one. Like the Panthers come out like week 1, yeah. I think they're starting to figure it out. Coker sounds like he's going to be back. He's a game time decision. He sounds like he's going to be back from what he's saying in the media. That's going to give him a little bit more firepower. Xavier Legette. If you watch the interview of what that beat reporter said to him, I think The universe is going to help him out a little bit. And you're looking at all this, and you're like, this is going to be a fire matchup. This is going to be fun to watch. Javonte Williams, of course, he's chalk too. Kyren Williams is going to be chalk this week. The Ravens are just giving away fantasy points all over the place. They're like a cut on the arm that won't stop bleeding. That's the Ravens. Cooper Rush sucks. The spread's at 7. It should be worse than that. You're looking at Baltimore on the road. Them being on the road. I mean, Rams on the road to Baltimore. That kind of came out funny. But still, I don't think it matters. I think Kyren Williams is good for a touchdown on the ground. He hasn't had one since week 1. Look at the volume here. 14 carries, 13, 20, 17, 18 on an offense that's moving. He's due. If you're looking for a random player to put in your flex, maybe Blake Corum scores a touchdown. Maybe that happens. If you're a Rams fan, you got him and you don't know what to do, maybe you want that action. Now we're looking at Seattle and the Jaguars. Jackson, Smith-Njigba, chalk. Just straight chalk. But this should be a fire matchup for him. Look at the process here. I'm chasing the higher over-unders. Like, sure, it hits the under, but 40, 45, that's still good movement for fantasy football. What are the odds that he misses? He hasn't missed yet. He's gotten to the fairway every single game. He's getting the volume. This team is giving up fantasy points to wide receivers. T-Mac, first ever game, 11 points. Why can't JSN do that? 36.5 to Chase. That was a weird game. That's when Burrow came out, and he was still getting it. Neil Collins, 24.4. That was the buster of the busts. Of his bust weeks. The buster of the busts. 8.6 against Pearsall. That was a nasty game script. That game script was slow. Then we get back. Thornton against the Chiefs. That was a weird game script. But we're still able to get something. Get it. Not the wide receiver one, but we're still able to get something. Remember, Xavier Worthy coming into that game with the Q. Banged up. We were like, what? Now you're looking at this. Jackson Smith-Njigba getting all the targets. 9, 5, 6, 10, 13. Getting volume. 100-yard games. 3 of them. 96-yarder on another. 2 touchdowns on the season. With that amount of volume, should be having more touchdowns. We got more chances for that. I think this is going to be a fun game. Jaguars at home. Jaguars looking solid right now under Liam Cohen. There should be some good pushback in this matchup. Travis Etienne. You're looking at Seattle here, and they're bending and breaking to everybody but Alvin Kamara and the Saints. The weird game script. They will put you in weird game scripts, Seattle will. They will definitely do that. They will put you in some weird game scripts. That is where this could all go wrong. This could be a game script that both these teams meet, and they're just not the correct dancing partner for our fantasy football fire. It could go all wrong with that. I could definitely see that, and it'd be a little bit slower. I see that. There's a potential for that. How could it break loose the other way? I could definitely see with what both these teams have as firepower. Both of them are good at wide receiver, even though Brian Thomas Jr. hasn't been fine for you in fantasy. Targets are there. Remember, new offensive system for Trevor Lawrence and him, so they got to connect and work that out. But they're also winning games. They're also up in some of these games. They're also in some weird game scripts. That's part of football. That's just part of football. Travis Etienne, though, getting work. Travis Etienne's another part of that because last year, the running backs weren't firing like they were. Now he's firing. Now he's looking good. This is a good matchup for him. All these running backs hitting against them, 47.5 over under. You got a tight spread at 1.5. Vegas is saying that. That's not me. That's Vegas. Odds narrows it down with their numbers. That doesn't mean it's an absolute, but you're looking at that. Seattle is less than league average in the last 3 games, but that is buoyed down with Kamara and Benson. But Rachaad White coming in getting 23.1. I think Travis Etienne solid this week. Josh Jacobs. This is a smash matchup. I know I got him high in the rankings. This is a smash matchup coming off bye, so we're a little bit fresher. You got 14.5 spread. You got Flacco on the Bengals now. We saw him with the Browns. We saw what was up with that. And now he's getting that check still. I'm all about that for him. But they're just giving fantasy points away to running backs. They just are. They're either hitting the fairway or they're getting bulldozed. And that was that Minnesota game. He's at least going to get you to the fairway. Even if he rushes for 3.5 yards per carry, he's going to at least get you to the fairway. He's going to get a lot of rushing attempts. He's going to get you there. This might be the game where he breaks 4 yards per carry. He's due to do that, due to how much volume he's getting, due to how good he is. He's a veteran. He's been in the league. He's got good vision. Softer matchup, and they should be up in this game. Watch the backups, backup running backs. If you're looking at Manny Wilson, Maybe you plug him in at flex and hope for the touchdown. I can't tell you to start him, but that is a vibe you got to look at. The odds are increased. So if you're in a dire situation, you're looking for a flex, that's an idea. That's why I'm doing this. So he's supposed to hit so hard. By proxy, you might get some silent hitters coming in. Now you're looking at Egbuka against the Niners. I'm looking at what they allowed last week. Puka Nacua, 24.5. Jaxon Smith-Njigba, 21.4. Now you're looking at all the other wide receivers that hit against them. Who is Egbuka like more when you just think about it? Not one for one. Don't do like 100% tape analysis. Just do a broad range here. Who is he more likely like? Brian Thomas Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr., Rashid Shaheed, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, Puka Nacua. Who's he more likely? I think he's going to smash this week. 47.5 over under. 49ers are fair when it comes to allowing fantasy production to wide receivers. I say it's fair. They'll break, though. They've proven that twice. The thing about this game, how it could go bad. It could go bad. The Niners have been in some scraps. They've been in a few scraps. Baker Mayfield usually doesn't care, though. Usually just pushes it. He's scrappy in his own right. I think Egbuka is safe this week. I like him as chalk. Drake London's some good chalk that I think a lot of people get scared of. I like this matchup, 49.5 over under. The Bills will just push you into game scripts where you got to increase the volume. Flowers hit. Hill hit. Olave got you to the fairway. Diggs blew up last week. Drake London gets a good target share. The only question here, how it can run bad, is the Penix doesn't erect. If the Penix doesn't erect and the Viagra ain't working that night, it ain't going to work for Drake London. That is the risk there. That is the true risk there. That could potentially... We saw that happen a few times already this season. If the Penix just stays stagnant and stays limp, we know what's going to happen with that. But if it's just firing away, Drake London is going to be solid. He gets you to the fairway at least most games. Jacory, Croskey-Merritt, old Bill's back. 49.5 over under. Should be a fun matchup. The Bears are giving away fantasy points to running backs. Aaron Jones. Mason got some work in that game as well. Gibbs. Javonte Williams, of course. Genty. He should at least volume himself into good production. He should be okay for fantasy production. He should at least get you to the fairway. He's a good start this week. He's a great start this week. I think a lot of people are looking at that, looking at what he did prior. They're a little nervous about that. You look at the matchup, you look at the recent touches. How could this run back for him in general? That's if they just start messing around with him. Coaches do coach things. Sometimes they do that. They try to overthink it a little bit. Instead of allow their young guy to develop, get more work, see what can happen. Maybe they do that. It looks like they need to ride him. Looks like they should. And despite what they say in the media, sometimes they do different directions. It's their transactions and what they do on the field is the truth. 49.5 over under. Softer matchup. I like this for Jacory, Croskey-Merritt. We're going to the moon. Those are the players we're looking at today. Who's your moon doggies in the comments below? I want to hear about that. Don't forget to ask your questions. I want to help you out. Help somebody else out too. It's going to help you. You're going to get that good juju. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.